Good day and welcome to another A Week at the Plot. And as per usual, my first thing is to come in the greenhouse and see if anything has changed. And I'm delighted, you might not be able to see, a little bit of germination there. And where else? Just here, can you see that one, that little bit there? So we do have some germination in what I think is our parsley. It could be our coriander, because one of these is parsley and one is coriander, and of course I forgot to label which was which. But hey ho, never mind. I don't think there's any others coming up there, but you know, we know that this seed, even though it's old, it's pretty tough, and even in the cold that we're getting at the moment, there's been a bit of germination, which is good news. We've got Mary here, the wild geranium, and our Hottentot figs, which are the two pots on the right. And I'm just going to put a lid on top of them to give them a little protection against the cold that we're getting at the moment. I think they'll be okay, and I expect Mary to die back a bit anyway and then grow again in a month or so, or a couple of 2 months or something. But I'm just going to put a lid on to give them a little bit more protection than the polytunnel gives. Done. Hopefully when we do have sunny days, that will warm up quite nicely in the poly and then hold in a bit more heat overnight, or warmth. It won't be heat, it would be a little bit of warmth. We have a work social on Saturday where there's some work to do around the site. So I've just popped down today to walk around the site and make notes of things that need to be done. So it really is quite a flying visit today, because it is cold. It is cold. It's cold for the UK, and it's cold for London. It's sitting about 2 degrees at the moment. The sun is just dipping behind the trees behind you, and in the sun it's been pleasant, but with that sun going down and no longer being in the sun, it's feeling pretty cold. So I've made my notes. I'm going to go home. I've taken a photo to use for our WhatsApp on our allotment site, and also our private Facebook page on our allotment site. And I'm just going to put up the work that we need to do on Saturday, which is not a great amount. It really isn't. And that, I think, is because we've really kept on top of things over the last couple of years. Fingers crossed. Famous last words as well, isn't that? Famous last words. But yeah, we've generally got the jobs done that need to be done. And fortunately, we've got a couple of days of relatively dry weather coming up. So hopefully by the time we get to the weekend, it will be a bit drier underfoot too, because in some parts of the site it's pretty wet. Yeah. Anyway, that's it for today. Just note taking for our social work party on Saturday. And of course, a bit delighted that there's some germination in the poly as well. Not in the poly, in the greenhouse. See you very soon. Bye. Good day. It is cold but sunny, and the ground is pretty solid with frost, and the broad beans have dipped themselves down. They do this, the leaves sort of fold over the stems, and they do this to protect themselves from cold. But in a couple of hours it'll be warmer and these will be sort of back upright again and blowing in the breeze. Oh, the garlic, again you can see, I think the frost really clearly on there, and the earth is really quite solid. but that's fine. That's what they want and that's what they're used to. They want this because it's the cold that allows the bulb to split and form cloves. So we like a good 40 days of cold to allow proper garlic cloves to form. Anyway, gosh, you see the brassicas under there, they've wilted as well. Yeah, but I popped down here today to get the wheelbarrow over there because I'm helping a friend take out a willow, a salix, at the front of her property that she doesn't want. So I'm going to grab that wheelbarrow and go and help her. My friend had already almost removed it from the ground when I got there, so the root ball is relatively small, big roots going out from it to stabilize it, but the main root ball is quite small. So I've just wrapped it in a compost bag, which I keep for things like this, and it's quite big, as you can see. What's it? It's about, I suppose it's about 7 foot, 8 foot. It's a weeping willow, so you can sort of most probably see if this was upright. This is the weep of it, and I think it could do with quite a bit of thinning, but I'm just going to leave it there for a couple of days. We're not due any major winds. Yeah, so I need to think where it's going to go. I do have a big tub this could go in, or maybe it's better. I mean, if we were moving this year, I'd love to have this because it weeps so beautifully, and it could be pruned really well, you know, really thin out this thatch. So if we were going to be moving this year, I'd most likely put it into a large tub that I've got. But otherwise, I think it will go onto the bank of our orchard area. But yeah, I can think about that over the coming days. Right, I'm going to leave that there. See you again soon. Bye. Good day. Now on the banks of the River Brent on our side, which is private. That's the big tree that breached our boundaries when it fell last year, and I think behind it you can see they did tree work and they piled all the logs over there, which is great. Nice log piles. And you'll remember the willow that I brought down from a neighbour earlier in the week. We've put it along our banks here. As you can see, there's several trees going along, and we put it here because it will get a decent amount of sun in this area. Doesn't need a huge amount, but it'll get a really decent amount here. And because the root ball was so small, we're really trying to stabilize it so that over the coming 6 months with any winds. It's not going to rock. And we put this post in yesterday here, and we put this one here, this vertical one, and another person has put others in. They're really sort of tight against the trunk, because the root ball is so small at the moment that we need to sort of make sure it doesn't rock much. So this is a bit of a Heath Robinson, so we're going to put bigger posts in, and that is going to be one of them. So I'm just going to knock this in now. The soil here is really soft because of course it's the banks of the river, so it shouldn't be too bad to knock in. But as I say, we will be putting larger ones in, we just don't have them at the moment. So this is now banged in, pretty solid, and I found a inner tube on the banks the other day, the inner tube from a bike tyre of course. So I've sort of put it around to protect rubbing where I can. You can see where that, you know, should that rub there, that will stop it rubbing. That's now in there to stop it rubbing, and I've just looped it in a sort of figure of 8 and tied it tightly here. And when we get or when I've got a pair of secateurs or scissors with me, I'll just tidy that up. But that's going to help stabilize this willow until the stabilizing roots go out. There's quite a lot of tight roots in that root ball, which are sort of maybe sort of 10 inches around the actual root ball, but then this type of tree puts out stabilizing roots, long stabilizing roots as well. So in about 6 months time, hopefully this will have taken and those stabilizing roots will be going out and doing the job that they do. But you can see here, maybe if I can, I'm not sure if you can see, it's sort of very soft soil, and in fact it's right next to our drainage area, so that's water coming directly from the drainage piping under our allotments. So yeah, this area is always pretty moist, but of course it's a river, so it's always pretty moist. And obviously being a weeping, it's quite top heavy, but that's fine, that's fine. Fingers crossed, in a couple of months this will be very happy and stabilizing itself, so we can start removing some of the stakes, though I think we may put one more larger stake in. But yeah, certainly putting that rubber inner tube is going to help any rubbing on the actual bark of the tree, which it is now. We're in our cider orchard where there will be a wassail next week, and yesterday we also remedied, or partly remedied, the strange growing of this apple tree. If I can find the footage, I'll put some in here, but you may remember that this was actually growing at quite an angle like this instead of upright. So yesterday we put in this stake, and using stockings we pulled the tree towards the stake and then tightened it. It's not quite straight yet, you can see that it's at an angle, as is the post, but it's nearly straight. But we didn't want to pull it too much because we want it to naturalize a bit like this, and then we'll straighten it up a bit more, maybe by another, I don't know, 5 degrees, something like that, in a couple of months time, or maybe even next year, i.e. in a year's time. We had to, if I come around here, we had to cut off one branch here so that we could pull it forward towards the stake and straighten it up. But that's a good job done. And if we can come in, can we see the buds there forming? So there's quite a bit of work to do. We need to take down the height of some of these trees in particular. But we did quite a bit of work on them last year, and I think we'll be doing some work maybe in about 2 weeks' time on these as well, before they start growing again. I mean, you can see in this canopy, you know, there's quite a lot of crossing branches that it would be good to remove. You know, I mean, even here, if we look here, you can see how this is coming across here and will rub. This one is coming across here. I mean, you can see how that has caused this growth, this growth here to sort of bend because of how that was lying. Can you see that? No. How that was lying on there. But yeah, work to do, but that's all good. It is rather a lovely Sunday morning down here, and actually since I came down the sun is making its presence known, and that's rather lovely. I was going to film in the shed, but with the door open the sun is just blazing in the shed at the moment, so and the same with outside, so I thought I would come into here and just finish off for this week's A Week at the Plot. So it's Sunday morning, as I say. We did have a work party yesterday, one of our work socials. That's where we do maintenance across the site that is needed, keeping paths clear, hedgerows down so that things aren't sort of going into people's eyes when they walk past, and generally just make sure that the site is maintained. And we had a really nice turnout yesterday, and people really wanted to get things done. It was quite crisp, so I think people wanted to move. And yeah, we got quite a bit done yesterday. We moved a whole load of bags of soil that somebody had dug out from the paddock, and we put that into a ditch that used to be a drainage ditch for the site, but that drainage ditch is no longer used, so we're filling it up sort of over time, using weeds and that type of thing to bring the level back up. Then we put the willow onto the bank by the river, which I think there was 4 of us who did that, whilst other people were taking sort of debris and cuttings from hedgerows and putting them onto a dead hedge. And we also did another, one of the people leveled off the hedgerow on the left as you come in our gate, because even though we did it a few months ago, it needed a further trim, and there was an area that was higher than the rest, and it was really messing with my OCD when we came in. So I asked the person if they could do that, and they got on and did that. So it was great. And then of course we straightened up that apple tree as well. So there's always work to do, you know, on the site as well as on our individual plots, but that's fine. We're getting through them. with the cold weather that we've got coming up and the cold weather that we've had, I think the ground is going to be quite difficult to work on this week, and there's going to be quite a lot of frost, so quite a lot of ground moisture, and I'm not sure whether I'll be able to trim and cut grasses this coming week, but you know what, we'll see, because I do need to get on top of that. Everything else generally is doing fine, though I must look at my seed box, as I say in our newsletter, to write down what seeds I have and whether I do actually need any seeds. I think the only seeds that we will need are Brussels sprouts. I think that's the only ones. Anyway, there we are. That's it for this week's A Week at the Plot. If you're not signed up to our newsletter yet, you can go onto our website richardandpaul.com and go to the newsletter, and you can sign up there. If you are already signed up, you should have received your newsletter because it went out on Saturday. And if you've got any questions or comments, please do put them down below on YouTube, or obviously on our Planet Vegetaria Facebook group. And if you want to drop us an email, the email is below in the YouTube comments, the YouTube sort of description. So please feel free to do that. And we will see what next week brings. I hope a little bit of work, sort of active work, despite the cold weather. I hope. I've got my fingers crossed for that at least. Whatever's happening at your garden, your growing space, or your allotment, I hope you are enjoying it. And I hope you are enjoying some sun if you are getting it. And I think what I'm going to do now is, as I look out here, that shrub honeysuckle that we've got is looking rather glorious in the sunshine. So I think I'm just going to have a look at that for a brief period of time and then get on and do just a few odd jobs. See you very soon. Bye.